Hi everybody, I'm here with Veer Das. He's a comedian and an actor, known for a bunch of Bollywood movies as well as the ABC show. Let me start off. Hi everybody, how are you doing? I'm here with Veer Das, a comedian and actor in Bollywood movies, the ABC show Cavalier. You have about 8 million followers on social media about...
Good Lord, yes, I do. That's a strong stat to lead in there with.
We're leading it, we gotta make you credible. Okay. And the first Indian comedian to have a Netflix special.
Yes.
So you're on your second world tour right now.
Yes.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm enjoying sitting here with you on the same side. It's like a Last Supper sort of.
Yes.
It's like we're both waiting for a train that's about to show up.
I'll start standing like this.
It's good. The new show that I'm doing is about love, and so in that sense, it's hopefully, the most relatable material that I have, because no matter where you are in the world, people are either in love or rejected. So this will do about 35 countries, I think.
Wow.
So we're beginning in America, but it's kind of cool to, I've been coming to America for about 3 or 4 years. But this time around, a significant amount of stuff has changed on the America trip. So it's kind of like the ABC show came out, Netflix came out. So I have I'm lucky enough to have a sizable American audience for the first time.
Yeah.
So there's no safety net anymore, which is kind of exciting.
Yeah. Would you feel like you're kind of like have broken through to the US audience?
I mean, that's not for me to say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I remember doing a show. I was doing a show at the Fillmore in Boston, which is an iconic venue that I'd been wanting to play for. At the Wilbur in Boston, which is an iconic venue. And I said, how many Indian people? And I got a round of applause. And then I said, how many American people? Yeah. There were more Americans. And I'm like, I think we just found the one room where Indians are a minority in the world. It's just this room in Pakistan are the only two places where
Yeah. So how does that feel that it's like a shifting audience? Like you said, losing the safety net. It's
a challenge that you instinctively want to jump towards because Americans are a far more seasoned comedy audience.
Oh, yeah.
So if they're, if you're lucky enough where they'll choose you for their weekend, you want to step up to the challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, like you said, you're on, like I said, on a world tour.
Yes, ma'am.
When you're, I was watching some of your specials.
Yes.
You're doing some jokes. Some of them I'm missing because I don't get the cultural reference, but I'm laughing anyway. Because it's whether it's tone or whatever. Like, do you think that's pretty common? Are people saying, I love everything, or are they annoyed they're missing something? Like, what's the reaction?
I mean, look, subliminally, you don't understand what the context is, but subliminally, I'm just talking to them in Hindi and telling them to buy all your property, so that eventually we can destroy your democracy.
Exactly. And I'm laughing now.
I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. No, I am. I think for me, comedy boils down to like a core emotion and a base emotion, and if you preface a set with that core emotion, then, if they miss a punchline here or there, that's okay, because they've empathized with whatever that is. So as long as you have that, you'll always be okay anywhere in the world. So if I was to explain everything, the show would be a lot longer on both sides.
Yeah.
If I was to explain the American references to the Indians or vice versa.
I loved your, I think it was 2017 special where it's filmed in both Delhi?
New Delhi and New York.
And New York, yeah. Yes. And it's switching back and forth, and it's so interesting to see, like, everyone's quiet over here and the vice versa. It's hilarious. It's great.
I mean, with the advent of Netflixes and the rest of them, we're not really that different anymore. We're both watching Game of Thrones, we're both watching Endgame, we're both agonizing about Cardi B, or, whatever that's just it. The only thing that's really drastically different is maybe our food, and that's it.
Yeah. What's like a joke that always lands no matter where you are? Do you have a couple?
I think the love show is doing pretty well because that's just universal. I think Trump lands no matter where you are, but I try not to do too much Trump.
Yeah.
I think the more authentic you can make your story. That's what I found with the second special, where the first special, The Broad Understanding, was fairly introductory. So it was kind of me going, hey, I exist, please watch my shit. But the second special was just me telling my story. And even though that's a fairly Indian story, it got a more American response than I expected. And then the first special. So I think that's,
Yeah, for sure.
So just tell your story.
Yeah. And as you mentioned for Netflix specials, I think since Netflix is becoming so much more popular, people are more and more watching comedy at home, like in their bed, like
Yeah.
by themselves, instead of like in a crowd.
Yeah.
Do you think there's pros and cons that come with that?
No, I'm used to being laughed at in bed. So it's you know it's just a matter of it's gone from one person to millions of people, but
you
it's
go,
still the
yeah.
same base emotion as I was
Yeah.
thinking. No, look, I think they're buying tickets because they've seen you on Netflix as
Yeah.
well. So both of those things go hand in hand. They're both a good problem to have.
Yeah, that's very true. I think there's definitely like if I'm in a crowd, it's obviously everyone's laughing a bit more if you're like
Yeah.
more external. And then like I think I've heard a couple comedians say like the new, white whale is like you get someone to like exhale out of their nose like that was funny. Like when you're like by yourself, like if you're on Netflix.
Shit, we do that with cuisine. We don't even need comedy to make you exhale out of your nose.
There you go, yeah. But just like a little internal thing instead of like such a thing. It's so interesting.
Really, is that the bar right now? Just to make a
think
millennial
so.
go,
Yeah, I think so.
that's where we've reached.
And is that sad or is that just progress?
I feel like the apocalypse can't be far away. If that's where we are as a population right now. Where
Yeah. Oh my
is
god.
the bar?
Well, for better or worse. For better
Zombies
or
are
worse.
coming.
Oh
All
my
right, done.
gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. But you talk about religion on stage a lot.
Yes, I do.
I want to ask a little bit about like what is your relationship with faith right now, especially like touring and kind of how do you stay grounded, I guess.
I am a strong believer in a higher power, and a very strong believer in the fact that higher power sends messages to me and resides within me. I'm not a believer in organized religion. So I don't believe that I need a middleman to access that higher power. I believe I need a good moral code. I'm sort of a believer in instant karma, where if I tell a lie this week, I'll fall sick next week. Or if I'm rude to somebody this week, I'll lose a project next week. I think God's pretty unforgiving in that sense, where he'll slap you around if you're being, an ass. But I definitely constantly feel the presence of a higher power and pray to it. So, yeah.
Cool. And then, like, I think kind of Hollywood and kind of we get the liberal elites reputation,
Yes.
like a lot of entertainers and comedians. Like,
By the way, who are these liberal elites?
I don't know. We're here in
would-
New York. Maybe they're here.
Like I've met a bunch of liberal people.
Yeah.
They're all broke as hell.
Yeah.
Wearing
true.
corduroy pants and having man buns because they can't afford to cut their hair.
Yeah.
So there are liberals and then there are elites. I don't think those two have bread.
I think so too. I guess Hollywood. People think of Hollywood.
I really feel like the left and right ideological divide in every nation is something that is strongly capitalized on for social media, and that's great. But 99% of people want to watch, in every country in the world, want to watch whatever their version of The Bachelor is and pay their bills and go to bed.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
I come from a household where one of my parents is a strong right winger and one of my parents is a strong left winger. They're not having angry sex and yelling at each other every night. They're just, getting through the day.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the only people who are progressing are people who don't think about left and right, but up and down. The Koch brothers don't care who the president of America is. They're just caring about progress. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm one of those liberal elites, I guess.
I qualify as a left winger as well. But I feel like politicians get to capitalize on your left wing sentiment and my left wing sentiment by making us feel special.
Yeah.
Right? Saying you're a Gryffindor because you're a left winger and it's your job to defeat the Slytherins, and the Slytherins are being told that they're Gryffindors and then we're the Slytherins. But the truth is we're all Hufflepuffs. You know what I mean? And
That is a wonderful point.
and none of us are special. And that's the truth.
Oh, for sure. Well, I guess there's definitely, as you mentioned, like stereotypes, and going back to my, kind of like liberal elite stereotypes of like, well, Hollywood's not religious, or definitely comedians kind of get thrown in like the atheist bunch. Do you ever feel like you're kind of not included in like those comedians or like cynical types, I guess?
I don't know. I don't qualify atheism as cynicism. I think that's a strong, label to put on it. I think by virtue of the fact that I come from an Indian comedy background, we can't help but have faith. I come from a country where you see miracles every day and abject hardship every day as well. It's a country that has climbed tremendous odds. So I think you'll find very few Indians who don't have faith in some sort of higher being. How much they're willing to act upon that faith is a different thing altogether. But yeah.
Definitely. And then recently we've seen some places of worship being attacked, of course.
Yes.
Like Sri Lanka church attacks, the synagogue shooting in California just this past weekend, the mosque attacks in New Zealand a little while ago. So how do you think a country and a culture can recover from something like that?
I think what the Sri Lankan government did was absolutely fantastic in that they took responsibility for a security lapse. And I'd love to see more governments in the world follow, just admit and say, listen, we made a mistake, because governments do. And history books write about that later on, but governments never admit it in the present. And it was refreshing to see a government do that. If you're committing violence in the name of religion, I think you're qualifying yourself for a 200% rejection from your God. There's not a God in the world that wants you to do that. So I don't think religious terrorism is a thing. I think terrorism founded on a misunderstanding of religion is a thing. And that's just my humble opinion about it.
Definitely. Do you think there's kind of like policies in place we could put in to stop this, steer people in the right direction or something?
I mean, these are fairly large questions, but I think anything that promotes an understanding of not your own, but each other's faith. The more I know about Christianity, the more you know about Hinduism, the more we both know about Islam, that's a better world. So maybe that's even at a school level that introduces you to different religions. That's so we understand what good Christians are and what bad Christians are, and what good Hindus are and bad Hindus are, and hopefully the good version of that religion is the most accurate interpretation of that text or that religion.
Oh yeah, that would be an ideal world.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yes, that's lovely.
As we talk about utopia today.
Yes, exactly. And then that kind of segues in. I'd love to talk about Indian representation in U.S. media.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me a little bit about your character on Whiskey Cavalier?
My character's name is Jay Datta, and he's a weapons expert. And representation was hugely important to us as well, to create an Indian character that wasn't overtly lovable, or we're always portrayed as these people who have their shit together, you know what I mean? But to play a character that was flawed and that was conflicted. And so he's just a guy who's killed people for many, many, many years, and been in the field shooting people and blowing stuff up, and now is thrown into an office environment and having to interact with other human beings. So guns are complicated, guns are simple, people are complicated. So now romance and friendships and a beer and honest conversation terrifies this man, and I thought that was incredibly interesting to play from a very logical. He's slightly OCD, so that's kind of always fun to play as well. They dress him well.
That's a good plus.
I'd always felt that about Indians are very well dressed people. We're very fashion conscious people, and somehow I never saw that on American television, and I was happy to see that happen as well.
Do you ever accidentally wear a shirt home or a pair of pants and nab some shoes?
No, like I said, they tailor these suits where they're like condoms. You know what I mean? There's it's like I'm wearing a Catwoman suit. I swear to God, there's no breathing room in those suits. And then I just leave them there, and I'm like, who's going to fit into these suits if I don't take this stuff home? Where are you going to find this 5'8.5" white guy with shoulders that is going to have exactly my dimensions?
These proportions. Well, that's good. So what do you think we gain from seeing varied portrayals of Indians or South Asians in media, especially the U.S.?
Well, firstly, you gain 2.6 billion people as a possible audience.
Great point.
That can't hurt. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's a reason you see more Indian people or Asian people in Fast and Furious movies, or really international flagship cinema. It's important to to have us there, just so that you get your audiences in our continent as well. But apart from that, I really think not diversity of casting, but diversity of story. And if good stories are basis conflict, then a well-justified reason for conflict, which comes from different belief systems, would be kind of nice. There's an episode in Whiskey Cavalier that I love, where there's a baby, and we all find a baby, and you kind of really see who these 5 people are by how they interact with an infant. But that's influenced by the cultures that they come from. And I thought that's interesting.
Oh yeah, definitely. And kind of on that same idea, I'm sure you've been asked this a lot, but about Priyanka Chopra.
Yes.
Another actor, came from Bollywood.
The alpha and the omega.
Yes, kind of broke into U.S. entertainment. Now she's married to a Jonas brother.
Yes.
Is she the new model that all Bollywood actors are going to try and follow her career path exactly?
Well, I think if all of us tried to marry a Jonas brother,
We'd run out pretty soon.
they'd have to make more brothers. So get on that. No, I think she drew the roadmap, and you have to give her credit where it's due. You know, I remember I started coming out to the US about 4 years ago, and they were like, "You are Indian, like Priyanka Chopra," and the last Indian before that was Carl Penn.
Yeah,
you know, and you got to give Carl credit as well, and people like Russell Peters and Aziz Hassan. You know, these guys, but Priyanka has broken through at an amazing level. So full credit, mad power.
I love it. And then you said you wanted to be an Indian Marvel superhero.
I do.
Called?
Well, I said brown cow, but
Brown
I'm
cow.
open to new ideas as well.
We'll crowdsource this.
Thank you.
But yeah, and obviously Endgame came out this weekend. Have you had
I have
time
not
to
seen
see
it yet.
I
I've not seen
figured
it
not.
yet.
I figured
Yeah.
you're too busy on your tour.
But I believe Arya Stark kills someone.
Yes, I think that's right. Yeah. She chops off Tony Stark's head, something like that.
Yeah.
But so, are you like excited about it? You're gonna see this? Are you a big follower?
I'm a big Game of Thrones guy, big Avengers guy as
Big
well.
Avengers
So
and Game of
the problem is I'm gigging Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which is when
Yes.
people go to the movies.
Yeah.
So
And this weekend was very intense for both Avengers and Game of Thrones fans.
I will find time this weekend.
Definitely,
to go see
yeah.
both.
And of course, like Black Panther was so successful.
Black
Do you
Panther
think
was
that
amazing.
kind of proves that diversity media is profitable, like in the kind of mainstream Marvel?
I will say yes, because of the inclusion and embracing of another culture in Black Panther. I'm trying to find the right way to see this. I think when Black Panther 3 comes out, that's when it'll mean everything that it's meant to mean.
Yeah.
So I would like to see Black Panther 3, 4, 5, and 6 come out.
Do you think Marvel has adapted kind of like fast enough, like with diversity and
I
representation?
think so. Look, I grew up in Africa, so for me, Black Panther was, it made my heart swell to see fashion, perspective, voices included in that movie, but do it again and keep doing it, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And do we think we'll see you in a Marvel movie?
I definitely think it. I mean, would you like to see me in a Marvel movie?
Of course.
Right? I have the jawline.
You have the jawline. That's all you need.
That's all you need is a jawline.
They
So,
just rubber stamp you right there.
thank you.
Yeah.
That's why I came here. It's just
Just for the
for flattery.
compliments. Good. Do you think the next 5
for
years?
flattery that I fished for
Yeah,
during
you
the
mentioned
interview.
But do you think the next 5 years, do you think this is realistic? Like, do you have a plan? Are you really aiming for this? Or
I'll just say inshallah, God willing.
there you go. Wow. Oh boy. And then tell us a little bit about your new tour.
My new tour is called the Love Tour, and it's a show that explores love. Love of your spouse, your pets, your parents, your country. How bold are you willing to be in love is the central question of the show. Written by someone who is a hopeless romantic and who spent a lot of time in Bollywood, which is a culture of outlandish romanticism. So that's sort of the theme of the show. We've done a few cities. I've yet to do. This weekend is Phoenix, then I've got LA, DC, Seattle, and San Jose. And then it'll do 35 countries.
Lovely.
Yeah.
And do you think that, or are you, it's my last question, are you hoping that when Americans see your show or like people in the US, do you think they'll try and look up kind of like things you mention or like kind of references you make, or like I learned all about Kurtas from your Conan appearance?
I think so. I mean, there's bits in, you know, the Love Tour about my first date and about giving a girl like a card from a certain shop, and I'll find that Americans have Googled that shop and tried to buy that card or whatever, you know, so it's nice.
Oh, that's
It's nice that, you know, it's nice for you to come to my show and for you to come take back something new, you know, and for me also to take back your cash. Is always a good transaction.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, on that note, thank you so much for being here.
This was
Veer.
fun.
It was
Thank
so
you.
much fun. Have a good one.
Yeah.